Welcome, Sens Talk. Welcome to Sens Talk. My name is Brandon Plant, and I am your host. We have some breaking news coming out of the nation's capital as Quadzilla is back in Ottawa. Fabian Zetterlund signs with your Ottawa Senators for 3 years at $4.275 million with no trade protection. I've seen some positive reviews of the extension and some negative reviews, and I will just say this from the get-go. I think this extension has the potential to be a home run deal with the cap going up and potentially Zetterlund being the answer for the Ottawa Senators in the top six. I can also see it going the opposite way and it not exactly living up to the expectations that, again, nearly $4.3 million brings on a player. But what I will say is Zetterlund, and we'll talk about it in this video, has proven in so many ways, either in his short sample with Ottawa or in his NHL career, that this is a guy that can absolutely play top 6 minutes and can absolutely, already has done it, score 20 plus goals. So again, it kind of reminds me of, you have two scenarios with this contract. You have either the Drake Batherson scenario where you get a top six guy putting up an insane number of points. Again, I don't expect him to put up 60, 70, 80 points, but 40, 50 points, very solid. And it's a bargain because the cap's going up, and for a top six winger, I mean, yeah, you'll take that contract any day of the week, especially for a 20 goal scorer. But then on the opposite end of the spectrum, again, it could be like a Matthew Joseph type deal where you're paying him for the potential, not for what he's already done. Again, Zetterlund has scored 20 plus before in his NHL career, but he's still young. He's only 25 years old, right? So still a little unproven. So because of that, it could turn out to be like a Matthew Joseph deal where it just doesn't work out. The difference is, of course, he's making a lot more than Matthew Joseph made at like 2.5. This is a 4.275 deal, right? So obviously a little different, but I also think you get what I'm saying here, right? Where they're clearly betting on Zetterlund continuing his progression after a solid year in San Jose, and then it continued into this year. And then with Ottawa, yeah, he didn't exactly come out hot, right? Like, he got a lot of looks, and we'll talk about that later, but didn't really produce. In his defense, he wasn't a consistent top six guy, which is why I'm very confident that Zetterlund will work out, and this contract will be a bargain. So on that note, speaking of bargain, Zetterlund, for the 3 years of term, clearly took a little less than what he was asking for originally, specifically on his qualifying offer. He was an RFA, so you have to qualify them with an offer. You go back and forth, potentially in arbitration as well. So on a side note, thank goodness they avoided that. But it was reported that when he was with the Sharks, he asked for roughly $5 million. They turned that down. So he took a bit less than what he reportedly wanted not even a year ago, when he had more of a case, to be fair, I guess. But again, I think this is a solid deal for both sides. I'm sure he's more than happy with over $4 million per year. And the Ottawa Senators potentially get a top six winger that could score 20 plus goals consistently. Again, he has that potential. He's done it before for under $5 million. In this day and age of the National Hockey League, that's beautiful. But again, it has to work out. It might not. I think it will. And I don't think the Sens would have signed Fabian Zetterlund to such a long-term deal. Again, I expected a 1 or 2 year contract offer, not 3, and especially at a high AAV, if they didn't see him as a top six winger. Because again, remember, with Fabian Zetterlund, this is a guy that primarily played third and fourth line minutes with the Ottawa Senators after coming here. So all the people are like, oh, he didn't get any points. Oh. I know points are important, obviously, and the underlying metrics shows that he should have got more points than he did. But ultimately, again, you're only going to be able to create in the opportunities you get. He produced a lot of opportunities. Sometimes the puck just didn't go in, though. And that happens. Again, when Zetterlund went from New Jersey to San Jose in his first 20, 30 games, he didn't produce much. He had the same exact issue. Most wingers do. When they're trying to get acclimated to another type of system with new line mates mid-year, it's not going to be easy. The points aren't going to fly off, right? You're not Connor McDavid. He's not Austin Matthews. You know what I mean? So let's cut him some slack. Let's give him the chance. He's done 20 plus before. He can do it again. And again, if given top 6 minutes, he should absolutely be able to reach 20 plus goals and 45 plus points next year and even more in the years to come. Again, that will make this contract a bargain with the cap going up. But if you're with, Tkachuk and Stützle, I don't see how he doesn't put up 40, 50 points and 20 goals. I'm sorry, you know what I mean? So on a side note, by the way, Zetterlund has some good speed. He's a 5-on-5 scorer as well. All the things your Ottawa Senators need. So again, yes, I know I'm repeating myself. I will say this. Yes, there is risk. I'm not going to ignore that reality. But I'm going to push it aside, so to speak, because I do think Zetterlund has proven enough in his NHL career that he's worth the quote-unquote risk, and most importantly, is worth the investment in. So again, if it doesn't work out, yes, it's a lot of dead cap. It's a lot of money given to a player that's just not working out with the Sens. But again, I'm very confident that will not be the case. And most of all, if that's the case, with the cap going up, I'm sure, I guess you can ship him somewhere just like we did with Matthew Joseph. I don't want it to get to that, and frankly, I don't think it will get to that. But again, with no trade protection for Fabian Zetterlund, then that is certainly a possibility if things don't work out. But again, I'm very confident in him, not only living up to the contract, but exceeding that contract. Now, before we continue on with the video and talk about, what he did last year in his NHL career, just with the Sens and everything in between, and take a look at some lineup ideas as well, because again, him making nearly $4.5 million, clearly a top 6 guy. What does that mean for Claude Giroux, right? And Giroux's still not signed, so we'll talk about that later. But before we do, I want to say thank you to Dylan Puckniak and Keller Williams Sports and Entertainment for sponsoring Sens Talk, as Sens Talk is proudly presented by Dylan Puckniak, Ottawa's exclusive realtor with Keller Williams Sports and Entertainment. Providing a bilingual real estate service that serves the Ottawa-Gatineau community, Dylan Puckniak is also specialized in supporting professional athletes that come and go in our city, providing service that takes care of the people at the highest level. For a realtor experience that puts you and your needs first, visit dylanpuckniak.kw.com. That is dylanpuckniak.kw.com to find out more today. Again, thank you to Dylan Puckniak and Keller Williams Sports and Entertainment for sponsoring Sens Talk. So Fabian Zetterlund last year actually played 84 games, which is very rare, but obviously when he was traded to Ottawa from San Jose, clearly San Jose played a couple more games than Ottawa at that point, and he played the rest of the games with Ottawa. So cool stat there, 84 games for the Quadzilla Fabian Zetterlund in that time, combined between Ottawa and San Jose. And don't worry, in a few minutes, I could take a look at his split stats just with Ottawa. In that short sample size, I might remind you. He averaged 16-21 on ice, 19 goals, 41 points, power play points just 1, 39 hits, and the Corsi for percentage at 5-on-5 at just under 46%. In his NHL career, 247 games, so close to 250, averaging 16-10 on ice, 52 goals, 116 points. So again, not a bad tally there for your first 250 or so games of your NHL career, averaging roughly a point every second game or so. So that's not bad whatsoever, again, especially on a really bad San Jose Shark team and in limited minutes with the New Jersey Devils. And with the Sens, in his split time with the Sens, or the split stats, I should say, specifically taking a look at his time as an Ottawa Senator, I want to mention this again. When he was traded from the Devils to the Sharks, he did the same exact thing in that 30-game sample size or so. He didn't even score a goal with the Sharks in that sample size. He got only 3 assists. He scored 5 points in the final stretch there with Ottawa. And again, not great. But he's done this before. You know what happened after he did that with San Jose? He didn't put up any goals, only 3 points in the last 20, 30 games of the regular season. He scored 20-plus goals. Is he going to do that again? No guarantee. I have a very good feeling that Fabian Zetterlund can absolutely do that, though. Look at your screen right now. Time on ice per game would have been 15th on the Ottawa Senators, 14-18. So again, he was primarily played in a bottom 6 role, which is clearly shown here on that average time on ice, compiling 5 points in that stretch, 2 goals, and 3 assists. As you can see on the right hand of the graphic, it's the rankings on the Ottawa Senators. So, not shockingly, in some of these offensive categories and limited opportunities, he is in the back end of the rankings. Power play points 1, top 10, surprisingly. Now, this is what's really interesting, and this is exactly why I am not only more than confident in Fabian Zetterlund living up to the contract. I think this contract could end up being Drake Batherson 2.0. 47 scoring chances last year in that short sample size with the Ottawa Senators, in third and fourth line minutes primarily, third on the Ottawa Senators. Just for some context, if you think, oh, well, that's just a cherry-pick stat, well, just take a look at this for a second, all right? Considering his time on ice, the scoring chances he put up is very, very impressive. And just to kind of give you an idea of why it's very impressive, not because it's ranked third on the Ottawa Senators, which is impressive in its own right, in my opinion, but after the trade deadline, in this stretch, his scoring chances for 60 at 9.86 is comparable to other players in that same time span, like Kyle Connor, pretty good player. I'm not going to lie with you. I would take Kyle Connor on this team every single day of the week. Nikolai Ehlers at 9.91. Connor was at 9.82. Nikolai Ehlers, another player I'd love the Ottawa Senators to potentially target in free agency, although I don't know if that's possible now, especially with our cap situation, which we'll talk about in a few minutes. And Sam Bennett, the Conn Smythe trophy winning Sam Bennett at 9.96. So again, if Fabian Zetterlund in that time span, without producing, is in the same category as 3 star players in the National Hockey League, I'm not saying he's going to be Kyle Connor. I'm not saying he's going to be Nikolai Ehlers. I'm not saying he's going to especially be Sam Bennett. I mean, not many can be Sam Bennett, especially with what he did this postseason. What I am saying, though, is the scoring will come, no doubt about it, because the scoring chances are there. And I have to repeat this. When traded from the Devils to the Sharks in like 30 games, no goals, 3 apples. The next year, 20-plus goals. Just saying. Have faith in a player that in this exact scenario has figured it out, put together a fantastic season, and became a very productive player. Again, 25 years old, 3 more years, going to be entering the prime of his NHL career on this contract. So the sky's the limit, in my opinion, for Fabian Zetterlund, especially in more proper opportunities like a top 6 opportunity. And again, if you're producing scoring chances similar to guys like Kyle Connor, Nikolai Ehlers, Sam Bennett, and whatnot, I think you're going to be okay and figure out the scoring side of things as well. He was also 5th on the Ottawa Senators in shots with 40. We all know the Ottawa Senators need to shoot the puck more. Zetterlund absolutely can shoot the puck more, so thank goodness for that. And then 5-on-5 scoring chances for was 6 on the Ottawa Senators at just under 54%. And then 5-on-5 expected goals for percentage at just under 50%. So again, the underlying metrics look pretty solid for him. And most of all, the scoring chances are there. The goals and the points should come as long as he continues to get some good looks. Now in the playoffs, I won't lie, a little disappointing. No points, no goals, nada, zeros on the board. So not a great playoff run there for Zetterlund. He threw around the body. Again, Mr. Quadzilla certainly can play physical, no doubt about that. 16 hits, 2 blocks, 2 takeaways as well. And then the advanced analytics looked great. But again, that was his, I believe, first real playoff opportunity. He might have got an opportunity with the Devils briefly, but his first true opportunity, even getting top 6 minutes. So that is, it's not great. But also, the Sens just weren't scoring much in that playoff series to begin with. So is that on Zetterlund or on the team? Is it a bit of both? That's for you to debate. But again, if you're not really impressed with his playoff, showing last year, I don't blame you. However, again, I'm sure he's going to bounce back just fine. A lot of players did not exactly have the great playoff performance that we were expecting, right? So there was not a lot of scoring to go around, and Zetterlund certainly was part of that problem. Now, hopefully, he will be part of the solution because, again, we've seen it before. I'll say it again. He absolutely can bounce back and become a hell of a play driver and shooter. Now, if you look at your screen right now, what I really, really find interesting about Fabian Zetterlund is the fact that, on his offhand, he's firing in pucks. I love to see it, This is a guy, if you look at your screen right now, like I just said, that scores a lot of goals from that right wing spot, right, from the slot. And with that quick, great release that Fabian Zetterlund possesses, I mean, this is a guy with a great shot. We saw it briefly on his second goal, I believe, last year with Ottawa. The first one was a bit of a weird goal up front. The second one was a good shot. So, I think anyways, one of the two. You saw it on the screen just now, so you saw it, doesn't matter. But he has a great shot, a great release, a quick release. He's a good skater, so all the tools are there for him to produce. You know what I mean? So on top of all of that, having a guy that could potentially even step in on a power play scenario, slam home one-timers from the slot on the right side, kind of fill that Josh Norris void, even better. It's music to my ears, frankly. Anyways, moving forward now, going into the Sens cap situation. The Sens only have $10.7 million in cap space going into this summer with Giroux, Levi Merilainen, and multiple other players to sign. So not a lot of money left with some holes to fill. So what does Ottawa do moving forward? That's a great question. But I will say this. The fourth line needs drastic work. Multiple guys likely are gone, like Adet, Highmore, whatnot. So, you got to fix that. You also got, of course, Giroux. Is he coming back? If not, you got to replace him, obviously, in that middle 6 role he would be playing in. David Perron. I thought he had a very good, stretch after returning from a lengthy absence. But the $4 million could potentially be used a little better. No offense to him, but I think Giroux will be bringing something very similar. So he could potentially be dealt for cap space. And is really Greg or Shane Pinto ready for a top 6 role? I think that's something to certainly think about. I think we might even see it at points next year. Especially if Cousins potentially is struggling. Pinto might get that opportunity. But these are some things to keep in mind. Again, we haven't even hit the draft. We're not even in free agency. It's way too early to project how the Ottawa Senators are going to look next year. But I'm going to try. First line, Brady Tkachuk, Tim Stützle, Fabian Zetterlund. This is why I'm very optimistic about Fabian Zetterlund. In a situation like that, I'm not concerned about Zetterlund not being able to produce. Now, where things kind of get a little hazy is the second line. What happens there on the left wing? You know, you got Cousins and Batherson there, but who goes there on the left? Does Giroux kind of get a shot there on the left wing? Does David Perron get a shot there if he's still around? Greg or Pinto? I don't know. But that's a massive hole the Sens got to figure out. Third line, really Greg, Shane Pinto, Michael Amadio. I don't see a reason to break up this line. They looked so good so often for the Ottawa Senators last year. And having a solid third line is probably one of the most underrated things a team can have. And that is a very, very good third line. And then the fourth line, does David Perron go there? I don't know. Bring some scoring opportunities there, I guess. You got to sign a fourth-line center. Maybe Stephen Halliday gets an opportunity. And then I think the only guy you really bring back, Gaudette priced himself out. Highmore shouldn't come back. He's like a fringe NHLer with all due respect. And then Nick Cousins, I think, is the only guy you really should bring back because that's a gritty, pesky type of guy that, again, on a basically league minimum type deal, it's worth bringing back. Then you got other guys in the free agency scenarios here that you can potentially look at, as I've already said in previous videos. You got Brock Besser, you got Nikolai Ehlers, multiple other guys. But then also, you got, of course, Jan Yannick in the pipeline, Angus Crookshank. Again, some of these guys are free agents, but you have some options. But you definitely need to sign some guys in free agency, especially to fill out the depth. So, again, way too early to project, but the one thing I'm very certain on is Zetterlund starting on that first line with Brady Tkachuk and Tim Stützle. He would not be paid what he just got paid, in my opinion, if that was not the case. So what does this mean, again, going back to the main point with Claude Giroux, 4G money? Well, we shall see. Claude Giroux reportedly is still in negotiations with Ottawa Senators. Gary Hawk says the Sens are still confident they can sign him before July 1st. But guess what? Canada Day is getting rather close. So that needs to get done as soon as possible. This contract might complicate things a little bit. But with that, let me know what you think in the comment section down below as always. And thank you all for watching. I appreciate your support. And again, I'll see you all very, very soon. Go Sens, go.